Good evening, Demon Phil, Comics and More New Jersey here with yet another interview, and tonight is going to be another good one. I seem to be on a roll of having all kinds of good ones. I wonder how that is exactly, but hey, just my luck, and I'm going to go and roll with that as well. So for everyone that's here right now, thank you for being here. And for everyone that is coming in, please go ahead and jump in here. Anyone that is here, share this out, start the watch parties. Let's get the word out there. This is going to be fun tonight. We're going to have some serious fun with this. You're actually going to get to see me fangirl just a little bit, so I apologize ahead of time, but it's probably going to happen. There's a story that goes along with that. We'll be bringing that up during the interview as well. But I am definitely looking forward to this. Hope everyone has had a great day, been safe, wash your damn hands, have a good time. But now it's time to get in here, have a blast, and we're going to have some fun, do an interview, do a book review, and we're going to just go over some things and have some fun. I mean, that's what this is all about. So spread the word. Let's get some people in here, see what we can get going. And we will get this going in about another minute or two. Jim, thank you for being here, buddy. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate you. Let me get in. I'm just going through and doing some shares on my end as well. All right. Thank you for that, Jim. I appreciate the update there. I am happy with having 17 people in here. Thank you very much for everybody being here. Please share. Let everyone know what's going on. We're going to give it about another minute here to go ahead and get this built up and get shared out. I know my guest is sharing out as we speak as well. So we're going to have some fun with this tonight. And I hope y'all have been having fun seeing me on here as much as you have right now. If you haven't, sorry about your luck. It's you know, got nothing better to do than to be on here and show my ugly mug. This is what I do. But no, I just try to help out as much as I possibly can. I can't draw to save my life. So here's what I do. I get on here and I interview and I try to promote and push other people ahead of me and get their exposure out there and find out what's going on. So this is what we're going to keep doing. Rob Schiff, thank you for being here, buddy. Appreciate you. If you will, please hit that share button. Let's get as many people in here as possible. And according to my watch, we're at that time. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. All right. Demon Phil, Comics and More New Jersey, thank you for being here for yet another interview. Tonight is going to be fun. I actually have a personal involvement in this, so to speak, just because I'm a major fan of this work. Tonight I have Clay Adams in here. He has the Fried Comics line that he does. If you're not familiar with Fried Comics, you need to be. Trust me, you need to be. I will be posting some links as we go along as well to go ahead and bring that up. But you know what? Enough about me and how much of a fan I am right now. Let's go ahead and bring out the man of the hour. Here's Clay.
Hey, how's it going, Phil?
Hey, what's going on, Clay? Appreciate you being here, buddy.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, not a problem at all. So we're going to go ahead and dive straight into this. I'm just going to go ahead and say, for those of you that don't know who this is, Clay, if you'll tell us who you are and what you do and how to find you.
Absolutely. So I'm Clay Adams. I'm a co-creator at friedcomics.com, and we make offbeat, irreverent pulp fiction. We've been doing that since 2013. We have, this might be a family show. I won't say the full name of the title, but we have a book called PBOW. That's an acronym. I'll let you find out what that means. We also have another book called Dead Skins, and we have another one called Red Xmas, which is our perennial holiday special that we do every year. And I can be found on Twitter at Clay's Evil Twin.
So you bring up that they're the irreverent titles and everything. I'm going to tell you right now, you've got to be a little bit twisted to read these. And if you're not already a little bit twisted, it twists you in just a little bit. I mean, it's not I'm not saying this is like a cult thing that completely turns your life around scenario, but it is a very fun, very irreverent, very casual read to have. And they're an absolute blast. So I know that, again, talking from a fan standpoint here.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
And we have got Eve is in here. Thank you, Eve, for coming in. I appreciate you being here. Let me go ahead and pull up. This is the website. If you want to go on there and look at that while we're talking, you're more than welcome to do that. So the first thing I want to go ahead and say is with Fried Comics, of course, you have the 3 main titles that are on there right now. I'm going to go straight to the one that you said that we can do the acronym for. We can actually go ahead and say what it is. It's not as bad as you would be thinking. And if I leave it open to acronyms to this crowd out here, there's no telling what they would come up with.
Okay.
So PBOW is Pregnant Bitches of War.
That's the name. Don't wear it out.
It's actually, I have it. Let me go ahead and show you right there. So you want to go ahead and you can tell them about this book. I will let you do it because I'm still kind of with jaw on the ground while I'm reading through this thing.
Yeah. So this is it's a pretty wild ride, as you might imagine from the title. It's about 6 pregnant women who are sucked from the time stream by inventor Nikola Tesla. They accidentally go back in time and kill a young Hitler, and somehow that makes the world worse. And so now they have to save the world from a hell of their own creation before their water breaks. And it's called Pregnant Bitches of War. We like to pitch it as like Inglourious Bastards meets Back to the Future, but with pregnant ladies.
That's definitely a way to look at it. I had not thought of it that way, but yeah, it's not one of those reads that you want to go ahead and say that you're going to read this thing and you're going to be smarter from it, like a War and Peace standpoint. But it is one of those things that, like, if you've had a bad day and you're just like, I just can't take this anymore, I want to sit back and just disconnect from everything. Well, there's not much more disconnection you can do than that right there.
and that was sort of the philosophy when we came up with Fried Comics. I created that with my writing partner Alexandro Philippe. He's a documentary filmmaker. He's done a few films you might have heard of. The People versus George Lucas is one that was kind of big in nerddom a few years ago. And he's got a few. He's got one on Hulu now that's called 7852 Hitchcock's Shower Scene. So you can check that out on Hulu. He's got a few more that are coming out. But we created this together, and we wanted to do just that. What you just said. In fact, we called it Fried Comics because we compared the comics to like fried food that tastes good but doesn't necessarily have much nutritional value. And so that's what our comics are.
And it's funny that you bring that up because I'm actually going to bringing that point up here right after we go through the other 2 comics that you have, just kind of discuss about them.
Sure.
The next one that I want to go through is the one that I actually backed the Kickstarter back in December. I think we decided it was December that you had the Kickstarter. And I just found out it was Red Xmas 4. So I thought I was caught up. I'm about to be caught up because now I have 1 and 2 and I will be getting 3 to go ahead and get caught up on that because OCD will not allow me not to do that. But Red Xmas. I will say that since I have read through this and I'm familiar with the one that I will be getting off Kickstarter, and I'm very familiar with this one that I received from Clay, this is not your 'Twas the Night Before Christmas story that you want to read to the kids just before bed. But again, it is a very irreverent, very fun read, and it takes Christmas to a whole different level. And it starts in the first few pages. I mean, you're automatically seeing exactly what you get into there. Now, I will say, because I always like to go ahead in my reviews to go ahead and bring up everything about it as I'm going along. Number 1, the cover. The cover I absolutely love. It's a thicker cover than you normally have on there, and it's actually got that it's got a different texture feel on it. So it doesn't have that slick texture. It actually feels more like a book in your hands, which is nice. The pages are nice in here. They are beautifully done. The artwork is amazing. Your panels, I can't get over. There is no rhyme or reason to the panels. And I like that because you can't have just a cookie cutter panel system in the books. It gets mundane at times. With this, there is nothing mundane. In fact, there's a lot of artwork that actually extends past the panels. There are full color things in here that are actually not even in a panel. And whenever you see things like, I just saw it on here, this is what you're dealing with. Let me make sure everything's cool. Yeah. This is what you're dealing with whenever you read Red Xmas. So the store Santa that you usually go sit on the lap, every year type thing, that is not the same one that we're dealing with in this one. That's a very different, very superimposed Santa, shall we say. On top of all of this, everything that was done in here was absolutely wonderful. The dialogue. a lot of times you can absolutely lose a story just simply by the dialogue not being in there the correct way or having the correct flow or anything. Not an issue. This thing was a page turner from beginning to end, and then to go ahead and start it over again and do it again because you can't get enough of it. I cannot point that out enough. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a demon thumbs up on there, seal approval on that one. Absolutely keep going with that. So that is my take on Red Xmas. If you will talk about Red Xmas on your end right now, and then we'll go to your last book.
Yeah, absolutely. So we wanted to create just a perennial holiday classic. I mean, whether we did or not, like it's not for me to say, but the holiday classic, it's like it's a staple of mass media, right? Whether you're talking about How the Grinch Stole Christmas or Elf or Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer or the Hanukkah song. It's just in every mass media, there's that something. And we weren't sure that thing existed yet for comics. And so we wanted to take a stab at it. So this was this started as a screenplay. Sexy clowns? No, but we could, who knows? Maybe we could put some in there if that's what you like, Jim. We'll see. That'll be the next book, Sexy Clowns. This actually started life as a screenplay that we wrote in the early 2000s, and it was before Bad Santa came out. And I remember after we finished it, Bad Santa came out, shortly afterwards. And so it's a similar kind of flavor. So if you like Bad Santa, you'll probably like Red Xmas, but it's not a ripoff or story-wise, it's not similar in any way whatsoever. But yeah, when we launched Fried, we thought, it's a fun kind of holiday story, kind of twisted. Not sexy clown twisted, but kind of twisted. And we decided, let's make this a comic. Let's try to make a comic holiday classic.
Absolutely. And just for an explanation, Jim Noble actually does Totally Rad Comics, and most of his comics have to do with sexy clowns. So that's why immediately, usually his opening statement, and I'm kind of surprised because it wasn't that way this time. Usually it is, how do you feel about sexy clowns? I was kind of surprised it wasn't actually that particular question. So he's evolving.
And now I got to look up some of Jim's sexy clowns. So Phil, I'll get the link from you later.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just going to warn you, once you go down that path, it's kind of like yours. You'll never want to go back.
All right. That sounds good. I can't wait to check it out then. It sounds like it's right up my alley. Well, so Jim, it's not, so when we say twisted, it's like, we're very much informed by like Mad Magazine, Cracked, Roald Dahl, that sort of thing. But also like crossed with Quentin Tarantino, or Rick and Morty. So it's sort of that kind of vibe. So Red Xmas is Mrs. Claus dies in a tragic toy accident, and now Santa's out to make all those little brats pay. And that gives you sort of the flavor of it. There's more to the story than that. It gets a little more complicated than that, but that's a good like elevator pitch.
And Jim says turning fears into fantasies. Yeah.
Well done, Jim. Well done.
So oh, and here we go, because I knew it was going to happen. I'm sold. I knew awesome. You were going to get along with this. So now that's Red Xmas. So we've gone through 2.
Yep.
So now let's go ahead and go to the flagship of the time frame right now, which is Deadskins. If you will go ahead and tell us about that one.
Absolutely. So Deadskins is a Western. It's set in the Wild West. It's a Harvard dandy and his blind drunk companion are all that stand between the Old West and an undead apocalypse. And it's kind of like if I had to do the X meets Y kind of thing, I'd say Blazing Saddles meets The Walking Dead.
That gets me every time. I swear, I watched that on your video whenever you did that for the Kickstarter, and I was laughing all over the place. I kept watching that video over and over again.
It was fun to make. Thanks. Appreciate that.
So I'm looking right now because I've actually got it brought up on here with the Kickstarter. Let me see if I can find it on here. And you have to bear with me because technology has been fun today for the most part, but here we go.
Yeah.
So you have got 19 days to go on this particular Kickstarter. I'm just going to talk about it a little bit and then I'm going to give the floor to you, but I want to go ahead and give the basics on here. So 19 days to go, 203 backers. You have surpassed your goal. You're about to double it very soon, which is amazing. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I know, I thought you had said, I'm pretty sure I could swear that I got the email that said you were funded that day, like within
like
hours
9 hours.
like
yeah, not 9 hours. And that's a first for us. This is our 8th campaign. And that's the first time we funded in the first day. And it was funny. Alexander was texting me all that day, and like this is great, this is incredible, because we remembered like when we did the first Red Xmas on Kickstarter, it took us a month to get $3,000. So to get that in a few hours was quite a change from where we started.
Exactly.
Humble beginnings.
Now, that's what's going on with the Kickstarter. If you can kind of talk about some of the options that you've got in here, the tiers, things that you've got going, just kind of give the rundown of what it's like to go through the Kickstarter. And then I've got a few things I wanted to bring up on it afterwards.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So, so the thing about Kickstarter is that we, first of all, I should say, if you're not familiar with Kickstarter, it's not a store. So it's not like you're coming to our store to buy something. You are actually coming to help make it. And even though this story was already completed, we did it as a web comic that was available for, it was on our website. We serialized it for like a year between 2013 and 2014. And even though the story itself is completed, you are helping to bring the physical project to life. We've never really printed it. We did a very small print run for some of the high tier backers on the first Red Xmas campaign, but beyond that, we've never printed it. And we're actually remastering the artwork just slightly. We're kind of darkening the lines a little bit so that it prints better. And so when you go to Kickstarter, you'll notice a couple of things, that there are several different options. It's not like you just go to your local comic shop and pick up a comic book. You have different tiers you can get, and these tiers, are the pricing is a little different than, again, just picking up a comic book, but it's because you are actually a part of the production, and so you get more than just a physical book. So for $5, if you just want to check it out, if you're just kicking the tires, you don't want to get a physical book, you don't want to pay anything else, but you do kind of just want to support, for $5, we'll send you the first issue, and that's 30 pages of the story. The full graphic novel is 154 pages. Right now, we are kickstarting the first 2 issues. So this is just for the first 2 issues, because we're just remastering this a couple of issues at a time. So we'll send you the whole first issue for $5. If you want the first 2 issues digitally, these are digital copies, for $10, but we'll put your name in the book. So, like if you go to the theater or something and you're a patron, you get your name printed in the playbill. And this is sort of the same principle. You helped bring this project to life, so we're going to credit you inside the book when the book comes out. I like, for Fried Comics, I like to refer to you as producers. You're not just a reader, or a backer, you're a producer. And then I think it jumps up. Right now, the physical book is at $25. And that's for the standard cover by Takashi Okazaki. And if anybody's familiar with his work, or you're not familiar with his work, he created something called Afro Samurai, and you should absolutely check out Afro Samurai. But he's a phenomenal Japanese artist, and he did our cover for the standard version. And again, you get the physical book, which is 64 pages. It's square bound, so it has a spine. It's like a real book. The cover stock is going to be nice and heavy and awesome. And And then you also get some extras. So when you get a physical book, you get a certificate of authenticity signed by Frida, who is our Fried Comics waitress. You will also get some extra prints and things that won't be available. Like if I sell this at a convention or anywhere else, you won't have access to these prints. Your name will be printed in the physical book as well, and you'll also get digital copies. So we try to give you a lot of extras to make up for that, higher price tag. Then I think from there it jumps up to about $35 for the Ben Templesmith variant. Ben Templesmith is a very active artist on Kickstarter, and he did a phenomenal variant cover for us. And then you can get both covers. I believe I'm doing this all from memory. I don't have the page up. I believe it's about $50 for both covers.
Yep.
And then you can get, if you want the whole Fried Comics library, we start offering that around $100. And that's, I think I counted it up. It's like the $100 tier is something like, it's more than 300 pages worth of reading. And if you go for the 150 version, it jumps up to almost 400 pages of reading. And then there are a few other tiers there where if you got a comic idea, like a 22-page comic idea, you want me to write the script, I'll write the script for you. Or if you have a Kickstarter that you want done, I can write the page for you. So we have that as a higher tier. And I think that was a very exhaustive listing of all the tiers. So you can wake up now, everybody. Great. I'm done talking about the tiers.
No, it was absolutely great. So there's two things that I want to bring up about the Kickstarter on here. Number one, this is a black and white story. However, there is splashes, and I will use that in air quotes, splashes of red. So whenever there is death or whenever there is in the process of dying or something like that, there is red all over the place. So it has that very horror-esque, but with Western, motif to it type deal. But then whenever you splash the red all over it, it just takes on a whole new look of its own. So that's one thing. So as you're going through the Kickstarter, if you look at that and then right below the artwork, this is what I wanted to bring up because you mentioned about Frida. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this up because this is what I think of whenever I think of Frida. It says, wait, how do I know I'll like this? About you. You're over 18. You laugh at inappropriate things. Funerals. Hilarious. You like Rick and Morty, South Park, Tarantino films, Shel Silverstein, Ronald Dahl, and Mad Magazine. We don't care what Twitter says. We know you're a good person. Fried is a state of mind. Are you fried? That right there in a nutshell is kind of why I started following you in the first place, because with your other one, it was the rant that Frida was having on the Kickstarter page. That got my full attention, and I've been hooked ever since. So that's me on that. On top of that, once you actually back this, you're on the mailing list. Now, a lot of people are like, I don't want to get email all the time from this and just have that kind of stuff. Your emails, you're sending me free digital copies of books and things like that. But also, every once in a while, it'll just be Frida checking up on me, but she checks up in a very in her own way, shall we say?
Very specific way. Yes. I should make clear, we don't automatically add you to the mailing list. You do have to opt in. So I will ask a question on the survey. Would you like to be added to our mailing list? Because we don't want to make anybody angry. So we don't automatically add anybody. But yes, Phil was kind enough to opt in, and most people do opt in. And we do give away, like he said, free PDFs. And we try to make it fun. Frida will talk with you. If you write into Frida will write back. And she often, we wanted to create the vibe of the old letter columns from comic books, because personally for me, like that is like one of my favorite things about comics, is that sense of community that's created by the letter column. And if I go back and I read old comics, half the time, like, I'm not even interested in reading the stories anymore. I just sit down and I read the letter columns. So we wanted to create a mailing list that was not just like blah, 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 talking about us and talking about, selling you something. We wanted to have a conversation with people. So Frida has conversations. She'll ask questions and people write in, and Frida writes back, and it's fun.
And it is. I mean, it is. You trust me. You want to opt in to go ahead and get these because it is a blast whenever I get these emails from this. It's none of them are the same ever. And it's almost like we're pen pals, but if my pen pal was actually didn't even like me at all, but still wanted to keep me around, it's kind of what it's like.
Yeah, Frida's a bit of a curmudgeon, Phil. So she's not the nicest person in the world, but if you get on her mailing list and become her pen pal, she lightens up quite a bit. She does show a different side of herself.
And we've got some, let me address the comments real quick since we haven't been over here. Let's see, we've got Eve said Afro Samurai artist. She was surprised and excited by that. And actually, it looks like she went and looked over there because she said you even got Glenn Frabry on board. She's excited about that.
Yeah.
And
oh, thank you.
Oka, yeah.
It is. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And Alexander and I almost got to work with him on a manga series. I don't think I can say too much about it, but a few years back, we almost got to work on it. It would have been a dream project. It was a licensed property that we were all huge fans of, and it was this close to happening, and it would have been amazing. But it happened in my dreams. I guess I can still dream about it. Maybe it'll happen one day. You never know. I don't know. Yeah.
You never know. A lot of dreams are coming true this time right now. I mean, there's life gives you limes. You got to make some margaritas. I mean,
that's right.
It's got to happen.
That's I like that. I like that philosophy. I'm going to write that down. Yeah, that's good.
Now I'm going to ask you because we've kind of touched on the Kickstarter. We've touched on Frida and different things on there. So now I want to dig deeper into some of your techniques and things that you use on there to kind of get some ideas behind the curtain. And of course, these aren't, if you can't answer because you got secret projects or anything, you don't have to answer. I'm not going to force you.
Sure.
Now, first thing I want to ask is, what kind of inspiration do you use for your books? How do you come up with these ideas?
It's a very twisted upbringing, I think, is really the only answer. Like I watched a lot of cartoons and the old Looney Tunes cartoons, and read a lot of Mad Magazine, Cracked, Roald Dahl, Shel Silverstein. I mean, all those things you listed. And Alexander, I think, was sort of the same way. In fact, he and I went to college together. We went to NYU, and we bonded over Preacher. That was kind of the big comic when we were in college. So I dragged him to Midtown Comics and forced him to buy some Preacher, and we kind of bonded over that first. So we knew we had similar sensibilities. So Red Xmas, like I said, that was the first thing we wrote together as a screenplay. And that kind of came about because we were just sort of thinking, well, okay, what kind of screenplay do we want to write? We were thinking initially that we wanted to do something a little more horror. And so we were thinking, okay, well, Nightmare on Elm Street is so brilliant because, it's just, everybody, I think, can relate to that fear of being in bed and being afraid of the dark and what's out there. And this concept that somebody comes to you at night in your dreams and terrifies you. We thought that was super interesting. So we said, well, okay, who else might come to you in the middle of the night and sneak in your house and terrify you? Oh, Santa. Yeah, because that's actually a pretty terrifying concept if you really think about it, that everybody's telling their kids that, this man creeps down their chimney and like doesn't slaughter them. And but then, like, oh, hey, but you're fine. Like, nobody's going to break into our house. You can sleep easy, except once a year when somebody does break into our house. And so it kind of went from there, and it went, when we started writing the script, it went more into a I would say dark humor type direction rather than out and out horror. And so that was Red Xmas. And then when we started doing Deadskins, that also started as a screenplay. And we came up with that idea long before the zombie craze got big. This was actually, Alexander and I were actually working on a film together. He was directing a feature film that shot in Denver, and I flew out from New York to be kind of like one of the big actors in it. I flew out there, and he and I were just kind of talking, and we hadn't written together in a few years, and somehow we came up with this idea about crossing a Western with a zombie movie. Yes, yeah, Garth Ennis is great. I love his stuff. I absolutely love his stuff. So if you like his stuff, they are fun dreams. If you like Garth Ennis's stuff, I would love for you to check out Fried Comics, because it's very much in that vein. I tell people, Preacher was the thing, when I was in college, like I said, but now with The Boys being so big on Amazon, that's sort of like what I tell people, like, oh, if you're a fan of The Boys on Amazon, you should definitely check us out. So that's awesome. I love that there's a Garth Ennis fan in the house. So Deadskins, we decided that we wanted to cross a Western with a zombie movie. And I hate saying the word zombies, because it's not like, I don't really use it in the pitch for Deadskins, because now sort of the zombie Western has become kind of a cliche. But when we came with the idea, it was actually fresh. It just, we wrote it over a couple of years as a screenplay. It had some interest. We sent it out. It kind of made the rounds, but like in Hollywood, 99.9% of things that, even if they look like they're going somewhere, they don't go anywhere. And so we kind of exhausted the rounds of that, but we got to the end of Deadskins, of writing the script. And there's a scene in there. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but there's a scene in there where we wrote this image of a group of pregnant women holding guns. And we thought, oh, this is a great image. All these like badass pregnant women holding guns. And we were like, that's going to be our next movie. Pregnant Bitches of War. And then we laughed at what a dumb name that was. And then we were like, wait a minute, hold on. What if we could make this actually kind of good? Okay. Then the wheel started to turn. And we said, well, wait a minute, this doesn't sound like a movie. This sounds like a comic book. Just the more we started talking about it. And that's when we first started thinking, oh, maybe we'll do comics. Because we were like, yeah, we're fans of I've been reading comics since I was 8. I think Alexander was reading them, he's Swiss French. So he was reading them in Europe. So he was reading like the European stuff. And so we decided to do PBOW as a comic. And then once we did, then it was kind of like, okay, well, we're working on this. What if we translate Deadskins into a comic? What if we made that into a graphic novel, and we do that kind of at the same time? So we launched Fried Comics in 2013. I refer to that as Fried Comics 1.0. This was sort of the first version of it. And we serialized both PBOW Volume 1 and Deadskins on the website for a year. And then we had announced that we were going to do Red Xmas. And because again, it was like we liked the story. It was the first thing we ever wrote together. And we thought, well, this fits. Tonally, it fits with what we're doing with PBOW and Deadskins. So we did a Kickstarter for Red Xmas #1. We learned a lot about doing Kickstarters on that first campaign. It was tough. It was a struggle. Like I mentioned, it took us all month to raise a few grand. And then, a few things happened that sort of, we had to kind of put a pause on things. One was actually this potential project with Takashi Okazaki. And so we wound up, having to do pitch after pitch after pitch, and refining the pitches and coming up with characters, sketches, and all kinds of things. And that took several months. So we were working on that. And at the same time, the artist who we had been working with on Red Xmas originally, Dominique Damo Stanton, who is now drawing Sandman for DC Comics. He was kind of moving on because some of the bigger companies realized that he was really good. And so it was kind of, Red Xmas was kind of put on hold while he was doing other stuff. We started doing other stuff. There were some other issues that were going on. But then in 2016, that's when I decided to start the mailing list with Frida. And that's kind of when Fried Comics 2.0 happened. And we started launching, we launched a Kickstarter for PBOW in 2017 and brought back Red Xmas with another artist because Damo was no longer available. And the rest is history. Now I'm here with Demon Phil on his podcast. So your dreams can come true, folks.
And exactly. See, I mean, wait a minute. A dream of being on my show.
Hey,
you gotta raise the bar a little bit there, Clay.
I'm having a great time, Phil. What can I say?
Now, let me ask you, because you kind of touched on some of the Kickstarter stuff, and you said that, you went through the first one, you struggled on it. So I'm going to ask the question, what makes a successful Kickstarter?
Having an audience ready to back on day one. That's really the key. And we did things. So here was our mistake on that first Kickstarter. Okay. Our mistake on the first Kickstarter was we had spent a year serializing 2 different series on our website, and people were reading it, and we were selling 99-cent downloads. So that's, let me tell you, that is not a plan for becoming rich, selling 99-cent downloads. We spent a lot of money on art, and then made a pittance in 99-cent downloads. But people were reading them, and we knew people were reading them, and people were reviewing them and liking them, and so they were critically acclaimed, and our readers seemed happy. But when we came to Kickstarter, we did not kickstart either of those books. And the mind-numbingly simple answer would have been to then do a physical copy of Deadskins or a physical copy of PBOW right then. And instead, we decided to kickstart Red Xmas, which no one had heard of at that point. There was no fan base for. We assumed that if you liked any of our other 2 books, that you would just immediately jump onto this. And there were some people who did that. But as we've learned, and even as we've learned from Kickstarter, there are people who will only read PBOW. There are people who will only read Red Xmas. And then there are lots of people who like both. But there are certainly some people that are in like one camp or the other. And so I think that was probably a mistake. So that there was not a lot of familiarity with it. And the other sort of mistake I think we made is that, and I think a lot of people make, is that they put something up on Kickstarter and they just assume that because it's there, people are going to back it, even if it looks great. I've seen projects that look fantastic, but they fail. And you go, well, how can something that's so fantastic, that looks so fantastic, not reach their goal? And it's because I think in most cases, it's because the person puts the thing up and just thinks now it's up. But exactly. As you know, from doing a podcast and anything else, like, you're right before this is going live, you're sending out the links and you're telling people about it. You have to promote it, and you have to have people there on day one, ready to back, ready to show some enthusiasm. And then once your initial crowd has come out on the first few days, then somebody who's browsing through Kickstarter, maybe looking for what else they want, they look at it as social proof. They see it and they're like, oh, well, 200 people have already backed this thing. It's already raised so much money. It looks good. It must be good. Right. And so that's what attracts other people. But it's really having that crowd on day one that like knows what it is you're giving them, is excited about what you're giving them, and is ready to back.
Absolutely. And I completely agree that you can't just hit that button and think the masses are just going to flock to it just because you hit a button. I mean, everybody can hit a button. I mean, I can go on there and hit a button for my show on Kickstarter, and I won't make a dime off of it because I haven't done any kind of promotions to get to that point. Right. I don't think I'd make more than probably 15 or 20 cents anyway once I hit the button, but that's hearsay. You're
selling yourself short.
Well, I mean, to pay for a show is what I'm saying. We do this for the fun of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you've kind of talked about what makes you successful in the Kickstarters as far as your advice on there. So I want to switch gears on the advice for new writers or creators. What advice would you give them?
So the best advice I can give is just make something. Whatever it is, make it, and then put it in front of an audience. and they will tell you pretty quickly, and sometimes in pretty devastating terms, what they think of it, right? But it's the best advice I can give. So I've heard several different iterations of this advice, which it was phrased to me as get published as fast as you can. And when I was given that advice, I thought, well, that's easy for this person to say because they are published, right? But if you're just some schmo starting out, like, how do you get published? Well, I think what the person was trying to say was just get your stuff out there and put it in front of an audience, like I said, because once you do that, you just get so much better than you will just writing something, putting it in a drawer, not showing it to anybody, or showing it to a workshop. I mean, workshops are great and you can learn a lot from doing a workshop, but a workshop is not a paying audience, right? Mm-hmm. If you go to a workshop with other writers, those are other writers who are there sitting there waiting for you to talk about their script, right? And then they're happy to give some, feedback on yours, whatever, but blah, blah, blah. Let's talk about my script now, right? And I don't mean that as a knock on writers' workshops, but like I said, they can be great, but they're not a paying audience. You want to find the people that are interested in actually reading it and are interested in paying for it, because then suddenly there's like a contract between the two of you, and the contract is you're going to give me money and I'm going to give you the most professional product I can give you, right? I can give you the best thing that I have to give. And so once you have that contract with somebody else, it really forces you to step up your game, and you learn very quickly what works, what doesn't work. And you can, you can see sort of the evolution in Fried Comics too, where we're learning things and learning how to put together a book. And I think we're kind of at the point where we have a really good, feel for it. Yeah, you just make something, start something, finish it, sell it, make the next thing, and just keep going.
That is great advice. And as some of the people that are watching this know, I'm actually thinking about getting into a project that I started probably 20 years ago, that I was going to do a novel. And I think that, being that I've gotten a foothold into this industry, I'd like to do it as a comic. So once I get to a scheduled way of doing the interviews and everything, because right now I'm averaging 6 to 7 a week, we're going to have to scale that down a little bit. But I'm having a blast doing this. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing by any means. But whenever that does come around, I may pick your brain a little bit more on that one too.
Please do. I love to talk about this stuff.
So what's in the future for Fried Comics?
Future of Fried Comics is, let's see. So we finished Red Xmas, the 4th issue we just kickstarted in December. So we may be putting that together in a trade paperback or a hardcover. I'm going to kind of look at what we're going to do with that, and maybe put a little extra bonus material in there for people. Then we've got more PBOW. We kickstarted the first issue of volume 2 last year. People have been asking since the first volume wrapped up in 2014 when we were going to have more. So we did the first issue last year. We kickstarted it with Fabio Ramacci, who is also drawing Red Xmas. So he had to we drew one issue. He put it on pause. We are doing Red Xmas now, finishing that up, and then he's going to jump back over to PBOW. So anyway, that's sort of what's next. Alexander and I are writing. We actually outlined the second volume back in 2015, 2016, something like that. So we wrote a pretty extensive outline. I wrote the first issue off of that. He and I kind of connected to sort of break down the panels, but he was busy making a film, and so he wasn't as involved in the production of the final product. But with everything that's kind of going on right now, he's kind of at home with nothing to shoot and no film festivals to go to. So he and I, the silver lining has been that we've been able to write together on this second volume. So we're preparing that right now.
That's quite a bit that you've got still going on, that, which is great, because at least I know I've got stuff that I'll be definitely backing for certain.
Awesome. It's great to hear.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things that once you go down that rabbit hole, it's just like Totally Rad that we were talking about earlier. You go down that rabbit hole, you do not get back out. So, yeah, you've got me locked away in a cage somewhere. He's got me locked in another cage somewhere else. Yeah,
awesome.
It happens.
Great to
but
hear.
I'm going to go ahead and address the audience real quick because I've seen a lot of usage over here on this because
cool.
Russell Allen isn't here. Thank you, Russell, for being here. So Clay doesn't know about this. A lot of people don't. Let me see if I can find him again on here. There we go. Hi guys, pantsless army of one. I'm just going to say, and Clay's probably going to laugh at this whenever he hears it, but the big reveal is coming. And I hate saying it that way every time, but it works for what we're doing. So the big reveal is coming. I'm actually working on a side project. Russell knows about this to a degree, and everyone is really pushing me on this. So it is going to be something that's going to be happening. So keep your eyes open on that too, Clay.
All right.
So let me see what else we got on here. We have got
Pantsless Army.
A lot of clown talk and a lot of pantsless talk. Yet
okay.
That's not abnormal in my show. That's pretty much the normal in here.
Who needs pants?
Exactly.
Overrated.
Eve said, "Love Preacher." Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a favorite. I've got all the hardcovers next to my bed.
And of course, Russell said, "Preacher's badass." Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Eve said for her, the one that she chooses would be The Boys.
The Boys.
Which, yeah. And let me see. Just kind of going through some of these others because we had a lot of comments going through while we were talking on there. There's a lot of talk about how there's going to be clowns inside of there and how they, do things to create the clowns in space. Wow, you guys are just really putting it out there tonight.
I got to get more clowns going on. More clowns.
I will say this. I'm going to do a shameless plug right now because I think you would definitely benefit from this tomorrow night.
Okay.
Tomorrow night, I do have an interview with Jim Noble. A lot of people are not aware of this because I have not made it public knowledge until just this moment.
Okay. What time?
It'll be at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern.
Okay. I may be recording another podcast then, but I will definitely check out the replay.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
But it's something that I think you would enjoy on there because what you're seeing with the way that we're going on this interview is pretty much going to be the same way on his because it's the irreverent style, shall we say. And I'm being nice about that, Jim, and you know it, saying it's just irreverent. And Jim says, and I agree because that's why I was bringing this up, Clay, we should collaborate.
I'm always open, man. I'm always open. Hit me up on Twitter.
Yeah, a totally fried comic would just, oh my gosh, I don't think my bank account could take that much. And Eve says, and I'm going to put this up here. I'm good with that. Going to spam the shit out of tomorrow's live. Thank you, because that's exactly what we need. It's either going to be a great show or it's going to be my last show. One way or another, we're going out with a bang.
Hey, that's awesome, man.
But no, I mean, I like to have a lot of fun. I like to go ahead and get guests on here that are a lot of fun to be on here and to go over things. And Fried Comics was a must-have. So as soon as I saw you, I believe it was on, you were on one of the panels on Anderson's show, I believe.
Yeah. A couple weeks back, right? Yeah.
Yes. That's whenever I got in on the back end of the panel and I was like, who all's here? And there were no names up there. So I honestly did not recognize you at first. So whenever at the very end, whenever you were given the time to go ahead and bow out and tell who you were and where to find you, my jaw hit the ground and I was like, oh, friend request. And I immediately sent it to you.
Yes, I remember that.
But I mean, I had to. It was a have to. I mean, like I said, I'm such a fan of Fried Comics, and not just, I mean, the books are great, the quality and everything, like I already went over and all. It's the way that you run the business. I mean, having Frida as your mascot, that is epic. I'm telling you right now. And anyone who's watching this, if you're not backing or have not backed or have not gotten anything from Fried Comics, just do it just so you can get that interaction so you'll know what I'm talking about. Because for me, just to explain it is not good enough at all.
I appreciate that. We try to have fun, because if you're not having fun, like, why are you doing this, right?
Oh, absolutely. Now, Jim says he's got a question. Okay, Jim, what's your question?
All right.
We're anxiously waiting over here.
I have an answer. Let's see if they match. Kentucky Fried Movie. Now that's funny because I've never actually seen Kentucky Fried Movie, and I've always wanted to, and I don't know why I've never like pulled the trigger and rented it. I'm a big Airplane fan and Naked Gun and Police Squad. So I don't know why I never saw Kentucky Fried Movie. But I'm going to check that out. Thank you, Jim. I will definitely check that out.
Oh yeah. So just to let you know, this is kind of like the interview process to get you involved in other circles that we have going on. So I think you're doing very well with the interview.
Oh, good. Oh, great. Perfect. I passed the test.
I know he's writing down notes over there. I can guarantee you I'll get all kinds of messages whenever we're done. We will definitely get you two together working on something and figuring out something. We can have some options, I'm sure.
All right,
but we can definitely do something.
I look forward to it.
But what I would like to see, I definitely want to see more of the Fried comics being out there and being out there in the open. I know it's great to have it whenever it's a Kickstarter every once in a while type thing, but with the current situation, everything is going on outdoors and they're needing more comics at the LCSs whenever they open up. You know how much I would enjoy to be able to go to my LCS and be able to see yours. Of course, it would be in a corner section and behind visible lighting and everything, but at least it would be there.
I would love that. So right now I'm living in Arkansas, and so our books are available in a couple of shops here. Awesome. Thank you. I'm happy to be in the circle. I love it. So we're available at Rock Bottom Comics in Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is where the university is. And we're also available in a cool town called Eureka Springs. There's an awesome shop there called T-Rex, and they sell some comics. So they've got some Fried comics there, but I'm definitely looking to expand into more shops. That would be great.
I will do what I can to get the word out there on that. I know everyone else that's watching this right now, I know they're probably taking down some notes and preparing to do the same as well. They'll probably either be reaching out to you directly or reaching out to me to try to make some things happen for you, because this definitely needs to happen.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
His Kickstarter, 19 days left, doing very well. And you, Russell, you're killing me. I got to put this up here just because I can't even think right now.
This has something to do with the Pantsless Army, I can tell.
Yeah, very much so. So again, going back to, we have a Kickstarter. So Kickstarter, 19 days, you're doing very well. We just need to get some more people involved in this, get out there, share, support. I mean, support doesn't always mean financial if you can, whatever you can. There are different ways of doing it on there, but use the power of that finger, hit that share button, get the word out there on all of this, and share this to everybody whenever this is done. Let them know what's going on. Clay, one last audible time. How do we reach you? How do we find you? How do we get your books in our hands?
Absolutely. So the website is friedcomics.com. You can find us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/friedcomics. I am personally on Twitter at Clay's Evil Twin. And then the Kickstarter, if you're interested in backing, Phil has a longer link, which will absolutely work. He's going to put in the show notes. You can click on that and go straight to the campaign. But if you just need something to kind of remember it, it's friedcomics.com/Kickstarter/DS, as in Deadskins.
Yep. And I actually have all of that listed in the notes for the comments on the video. So it is in the link, so you can find that directly on there. So whenever you're done, if you just go back and look at the link, scroll down to see more on there, click on the see more, you'll be able to see all those links on there. You can click on them directly, go straight to places, because you need to go to places and find these things.
Awesome.
I've had an absolute blast. I'm going to tell you right now, before we go ahead and take off, whenever you do Deadskins Ends and you send it to me and I get it, number one, I'm going to do a live unboxing. Number two, if you don't mind, I would love to do a review of the book and have you back on as a guest.
Absolutely. I'm here anytime. This was fantastic. Thank you.
I will definitely take you up on that and keep you on that. We'll lock in a date the closer it gets, of course, to fulfillment on that as well.
Awesome. Sounds good.
But if anyone needs to get a hold of him, all the links and everything are on there. We've had a great time with him tonight. We're going to go ahead and let him go for now, but we will definitely be having him back. Thank you for being here, Clay.
Thank you, Phil. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Appreciate it. And back Deadskins.
Oh, yeah. All right. Hey, I told you we were going to have fun, and we did, absolutely. And it looks like we may have even gained another member to the circle. Hey, you never know. Circles can get much larger. Just ask Steph Wilson. Yeah, that was a bad plug, but hey, it was there. It's my show, and I can do it. So, closing statements. I always have closing statements based on something that's happened within the show. I never script anything for closing statements. So on this one, the one thing that comes to mind is if you're going to do something, go ahead and put everything you've got into it. If you think it's going to be an idea that no one would go for, you never know. Fried Comics. Fried Comics is not your cookie cutter style comics by any means, but it gets to people. So give it a chance, see what you think. If you're this much twisted, you're going to absolutely love it. If you're more twisted than that, then you're already in the circle. So you already know you've got to have these books. So get on it. But yes, definitely back this thing, get on there, support, share, get the word out. Before I go, one last thing, and I'm going to go ahead and say this. Wednesday, we are going live. We're going to hit that button to go ahead and start up our Kickstarter for Vampires New Jersey. Alton Simpson's Vampires New Jersey starts up on Wednesday. So that is my shameless plug for that one. Get ready for it because you think you see my face enough right now. I'm just getting started. Until then, y'all have a great evening. Keep it indie, y'all.